Am I the asshole for starting an argument with my husband over him doing shrooms on vacation? My husband, 31 male, and I, 29 female, got married a few months ago. Maybe pertinent info. We've been together for 3 years, known each other since childhood. In the last 3 years we have grown a successful business which serves children in an educational capacity. I also have children from a previous relationship that he is a very involved stepfather to. For our wedding, one of his old bandmates gifted us a large bag of shrooms. I don't use any substances, and he doesn't either. He will have a beer once in a blue moon. We are pretty straight edge at this point in our lives and focused on our business and our family. He told me he had no plan to use them and would give them away to friends. He did give some to my adult nephew after the wedding who got horribly sick from them. Yesterday, my husband left for a weekend trip with his college buddies to the beach. No big deal. This morning he texted me to check in, and I asked what his plan was for the day. He told me they were going to the beach, and he was going to do the shrooms. I was immediately pissed because 1. I feel like he intentionally failed to mention he was taking shrooms on the trip. We could have discussed it and come to some sort of agreement before he left, but he chose not to. 2. If he gets sick or arrested it could have serious consequences for him, our family, or our business. To be clear, I know there are worse things than shrooms. I don't particularly care if anyone does them, and I'm not against them for other people. I also realize he's a grown man capable of making his own decisions. However, decisions are not without consequence that could impact other people. He has not done them since we've been together, and he knows I value transparency in our relationship. I feel like him not telling me until he had already driven across the state and was about to take them was intentionally deceptive. I'm also scared for his safety or if he gets caught with them being on a public beach. Even the fact that he was willing to drive across state with them seems reckless to me. I responded letting him know how I felt and told him I don't want him to do them. It devolved into an argument via text. I decided to stop responding and we'd talk in person after his trip. I'm wondering if I'm making a bigger deal over this than necessary and was an asshole to freak out over it while he's on vacation. Too long did not read. Husband didn't tell me he planned to do shrooms on boys' trip until he was already there and about to do them. I expressed my concerns and told him I didn't want him to do them, which led to an argument via text. Am I the asshole? Update. He texted me a little bit ago to let me know he's taking some soon and we talked briefly about it. He said it was a last-minute decision as he was packing to leave, and he didn't tell me when he was leaving because he was running late to get down there and didn't have time to talk about it. We agreed to discuss that part more after he gets home. He also said they are doing them at the Airbnb they're at and not the beach so they won't be driving anywhere or in public, which alleviates most of my concerns. He's also only taking a small amount and not going after a big trip. Definitely feeling like I overreacted out of emotion earlier, mostly having it dropped on me out of nowhere. But I also feel a lot better now knowing he's safe and being smart about it. Unpopular opinion: it's harmless and it sounds like you are channeling being upset about him having fun without you and using this as a reason to be upset. Absolutely not the asshole. Why is everyone skipping over the part where he said he wasn't gonna do them and was gonna give them away? He lied to you about doing a hallucinogenic drug, then told you over text that he was gonna do them while he was across the country from you after he committed a felony by having them in his possession and taking them across state lines. Furthermore, while it's his choice what he ingests, you are free to have your own feelings on the people in your life doing things like this. If the standard in your relationship has not been doing things like this and he told you he wasn't gonna do them, then texting you to tell you he's doing them is a huge violation of your trust and is extremely disrespectful to your relationship. Not the asshole. You are not a drug user, and married a non-drug user. So it makes sense that you would expect your husband to continue not doing drugs. I know some people think it's not a big deal, but for non-users, the idea of doing shrooms is not even in the realm of possibility. Your husband lied to you about not using them, and then disregarded your concerns. You're correct, if anything happens, it could have a negative effect on your business and family. He's too old to be pulling these shenanigans. NTA he traveled with an illegal drug with intent to distribute, to his friends, but still. You and he have a business that involves child education. You are correct that any trouble could have serious consequences. I feel he should have told you, or at least discussed his intent to do mushrooms before the trip. If you had an issue, since he said before he had no desire to do them, then it could be a discussion. Now it's just a fight. Not the asshole. It sounds like he kept that information, of bringing the shrooms, from you on purpose, and he told you before that he would give them away and not take them himself. If he gets into any legal trouble it could affect your business. I would be worried too if I were you. Am I the asshole for letting my family stay at our house but refuse to let my fiancé's family do the same? My fiancés and I live together near the ocean with many tourist attractions. My family from all over the world regularly visit and stay with us. In return, we stay with them when we visit their cities for various reasons, work, vacation, etc. Last year I had to travel to the city where her brother lives and she decided to come to visit him and his family. She asked if we could stay with them and he declined because he's still protective of his family due to the world event. I understood at first and we stayed at a hotel but later got annoyed because they had no problem going to dinner and out with us in public. Earlier this year I had to go back to his city and again she came along to visit them. He again declined her request to stay at their house so we stayed at a hotel. I understand some people just don't like to have overnight guests. The visit went smoothly and everyone had a good time. Last week he called to ask if he and his family could stay at our place when they come here in a couple of weeks for their vacation. I got really annoyed at this because he didn't let us stay at his house but wants to stay at ours. I told my fiancée they can stay at a hotel but she argued that they would need 3 rooms for 7 days due to their family size. She then pointed out we always let my family stay with us, at which point I countered that is because we're always invited to stay with my family whenever we visit their cities. She argued family do things for each other without expecting anything in return. We went back and forth until bed last night. I'm sitting here having coffee while she's sleeping and I'm unsure if I'm wrong. On one hand, I know I can be stubborn and petty. On the other hand, he doesn't invite us to stay with him while expecting us to house him and his family. What do you think? Update to answer questions. 1. We have a 4-bedroom house along with many air mattresses. Once we hosted 10 of her college friends when they had a get-together. People slept in the living room and dining room. They also have a 4BR house and we would have been happy to sleep in the living room. We've slept on an air mattress many times at my family homes. 2. All of his kids are over 10 and his wife is bringing her sister along and she needs a BR of her own. No one in his family have any disability or condition. 3. Our house is near many of the attractions they want to go to. Due to the popularity of the attractions they want to go to, hotels and house rentals close to those attractions are more expensive than normal. Also, our house is close to shopping and restaurants. 4. My fiancé just told me whether they stay with us or not, she's letting her brother borrow her car for the week so that they'll only have to rent one car. That means we'll have to carpool that week. This is even more annoying as that would add about an hour to my daily commute. 5. My fiancé is a better person than I am. I can be very petty when I'm annoyed, which is why I usually take cues from her and go with her decisions in certain situations. In this case, I'm very annoyed, which is why we're in an argument. 6. When it was just me traveling to her brother's city, my company was paying for a hotel room. When my fiancé decided to tag along to visit her brother, she asked him to stay so she could spend more time with her nieces and nephews. Not the asshole. It's bizarre that they would ask to stay with you after denying 2 of your requests, with a weird excuse. Additionally, if they require 3 hotel rooms, that's a lot of house guests. Just say no. They couldn't accommodate 2 house guests but they expect you to accommodate what sounds like at least a family of 6? That's a huge not the asshole. Info needed. Do you have guest bedrooms but they don't? So would they have had to give up their room or kick their kids out of a room to accommodate you? Have you been to their house at all? Is their house more modest when compared to yours, such that they may have been embarrassed? Because of all their kids would they have had to work their asses off to get their house to a state to accept visitors? If both households are similarly situated, have the same guest bedrooms, same quality of house, same effort to receive guests, then you're right and not the asshole. But I have a feeling the reason your fiancé is more understanding is because she gets what's really going on here better than you do. Not the asshole. His reasons for not letting you stay was because he's protective over his family since the world went to shit, but he's perfectly happy to risk his family to stay with you and save his money. Tell him and your fiancé that you're just following his wishes to protect his family. Woman shrugging. Not the asshole. And you are absolutely not wrong. However, if it is important to your fiancé, then you may want to consider giving it. She is more important than a principle. You might make a comment while they are with you that you will likely be visiting their city in the near future, And you expect it will be okay for you to stay with them this time around and see what their response is. Am I the asshole for telling my wife to pay for her half of living expenses? I, 35M, work in a HCOL place and have been married almost a year to my wife, 31F, who comes from a LCOL place. My wife graduated from college with a degree, but when she couldn't make ends meet living with roommates a few years after college, she moved back home. Her amazing parents lovingly welcomed her back home and she didn't have to pay rent. This allowed her to be very laissez-faire towards work and financial independence. She's a sweet and lovely person but has admitted to me she's a poor self-driver. I let her know she doesn't have to worry about living expenses when we get married so she can figure out a career and settle in. 5 months later she decides real estate. Awesome. She decides to take an online course so she can go at her own pace while she works part-time at a job. I'm not keen on it since it takes weekends away from us spending time and maybe her study time. She tells me she wants to be aggressive with the real estate thing and aims to finish in 3 months. Most people take a class and finish in 3 months. A month in, she's done a little less than half of part 1/3, 12/28 chapters. Okay, so her pace is no longer 3 months but looking closer to 6-7 months. I ask her if her not working would help her move a bit faster and she said no. 2 months in, she's done 21/28 chapters. Okay, so her pace is about 9 months now. I'm pretty annoyed since during this time she starts to play Stardew Valley and sinks hours into it along with Netflix and IG. She tells me to just trust her. Nearly 3 months in, she tells me she's almost done with part 1. I think it's like 24 out of 28. It's slow and we've both agreed that she would quit her part-time job after month 4. It's 3 weeks into the 4th month and she still hasn't finished part 1. Her pace is now about 12 months. She finally admits that work was getting in the way of her working faster. I'm livid because she says she's going as fast as she can and to just trust her. When I work from home, she starts eating breakfast I made for her at 10:30 and maybe starts studying at 11 and by 4 she's playing games. She tells me to treat her like an adult and trust her to set her own schedule. I just ask how her pace is every month and get annoyed with the slower and slower pace. I get told I'm betraying her trust for doing that. Last night I was at my wit's end. Adults are financially independent and responsible for themselves, right? It's not like we have kids and she's the SAH mom so I have to be the breadwinner. Married couples in this area all split the bills. I tell her maybe she should just pay for half of everything. I'll leave her alone with real estate and she can go at whatever pace she wants to. I don't want to foot the bill of living in a HCOL place alone forever. We can move to a LCOL place like Dallas but she said no. I know I can be a bit pushy and harsh with myself and others but on the other hand I feel like she doesn't appreciate the freedom I gave her. Am I the asshole here for telling her to help with the bills now? You are the asshole. Why do people think they'll marry one person and get another? You told her not to worry about it and now you're mad that's what she's doing. Nah. This is more a failure on both of your parts to define and establish your roles in the relationship and expectations than it is her being a failure of a person. I'm assuming she was never a career-oriented, driven person. And I'm also assuming she has good qualities that attracted you to her that you take for granted that she probably wouldn't have if she was more hardened and aggressive in the way you want her to be. She clearly sees you as capable of taking care of you both and a breadwinner. That's a compliment to you, even if you don't think you are. Not the asshole. Not the asshole your wife is. Honestly, she's not going to do much of anything. She's not motivated. Please do not have a child with this woman. You will soon get tired of this crap and divorce her. You know that. She will never change. Not the asshole. She is a hobosexual. Am I the asshole for standing my ground and not helping my husband's less fortunate cousin? Edit. Thanks everyone for the replies. Sometimes you hear people pressuring you to do something and hitting in your soft spots and you start to wonder. For fun I sent this to my mom and she told me that she could have easily told me that not being an all expenses paid vacation home didn't make us assholes. Tears of joy. Edit number 2. My mom wanted me to add a note because she said she was very touched by many people's concerns about the cousin and her family staying with her. Thanks to all the kind people out there. She wanted me to clarify that it's a guest suite in her condo that people who live there can rent for guests. Basically the cousin was getting a free hotel room. I, 41F, and my husband, 44M, have had a really hard year. We both had to switch jobs over the course of the year, and our daughter, 14F, has struggled significantly with her mental health. Our son, 12M, plays baseball on a travel team, and we have struggled to take care of our daughter and not let our son down in the process. We live in a big city where cost of living is high, and so is traveling here as a tourist. 2 weeks ago my husband's aunt called my mill, 60s, and informed her that his cousin, 35F, and her 3 kids, 2M, 6F, 10F, was coming to stay with us for 3 days in the big city. At the end of the 3 days his aunt would pick them up and take them to her place to have a couple weeks at grandma's house. Basically his cousin has had a lot going on and she deserves a vacation, so she was coming to our place where we could help with the 3 kids and she could be a tourist and relax. We are supposed to pick her and the kids at the train station and take them to our place from there. My husband and I were informed of all of this, along with the fact that we would be hosting 2 family dinners during that time. To say I was livid would have been the understatement of the year. The 3 days she is here are weekdays when both my husband and I have to work. My daughter has a therapy session, and my son has a game in a city an hour away. When my husband and I said no, we were told by his family we are being unreasonable. So we arranged for her to have a guest room in my mom's condo about a 10-minute drive away, so she and the kids had a place to stay. This set off his side of the family again because it made her feel unwelcome. Mind you, we had tried to reach out to the cousin directly repeatedly since her mom, husband's aunt, informed us of the plans. She won't answer texts or emails. Every time we reach out his aunt calls us back and guilts us. His family thinks we are not being welcoming and should help this poor lady with so many kids out and let her have a 3-day vacation. She doesn't have a lot of money and this would be the only way for her to stay in the city. Am I the asshole for standing my ground and not helping my husband's less fortunate cousin? The more I hear from his family, the more I am starting to feel bad for her, but just can't handle that many kids in our space right now. If the cousin won't even take your calls, she is not someone you want in your home. How incredibly presumptions of mill, aunt, and cousin. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. She should feel unwelcome because she is not welcome. You don't just inform people you are coming to stay with them. You talk in advance and plan out a time that works well for all parties involved. If you are willing to help her with this vacation at another time, that would be very nice of you, but she needs to plan that out with you, not her mom, and even then you have no obligation to do that. You have your own life and struggles, and it seems like they are a lot right now. Family. You are making her feel unwelcome. She is not welcome. Not the asshole. People don't get to dictate who gets to stay at your home for any reason. Good on you for standing your ground. Not the asshole. If she feels unwelcome, it's because she is unwelcome, and the people who voluntold you to host her are 100% responsible for that. The people who want to help her are welcome to help her. If you want to help her, you can do so in a way that's manageable for you.